Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And again, thank each and every one of you for coming through and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. Hey, last week, I told you guys that we were approaching 20,000 listeners on Spreaker and iTunes alone. And yes, we made it. Now, you have no idea how far away we really were, and it was really a stretch. But yes, in the wee hours of the morning on Friday morning, we surpassed 20,000 listeners on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So again, thank each and every one of you. It could not have happened without you. I know that you've been sharing the show with your friends and your family and all of the people that follow you on social media. So again, thank you so very much for not keeping this the best kept secret in podcast. So thank you, and I'll ask again, please share this show. If you like what you hear, if you find something interesting about what you hear on the show, please share the show with your friends and family. Again, thank you. Past 20,000 listeners on just Spreaker and iTunes alone. So you should know that the show is available for you on demand anytime. So when you got that commute all the way to work, or you're coming home from work or what have you, or you're sitting in the parking lot waiting on your kids to come out of school, then you can listen to the 800 Credit Score Man Show again on Spreaker.com, at iTunes, on Google Play, on YouTube, and you can also get the app. So go ahead and get the app for the 800 Credit Score Man Show. It's absolutely free, and you can hear it on Stitcher as well. So again, thank you. So let's jump into the show today. Today, I'm going to give you the credit formula. That's what I'm going to call this. So I'm going to give you the formula today on how you can impact your score, how you can manipulate it, and the way I look at it when I evaluate individuals' credit and credit reports. Okay, so I'm going to give you that today. And before we get started, let's do this. Remember those good old days of dual income, no kids, double-digit pay raises, and 2-for-1 stock splits? Well, these days, money's a lot harder to get a hold of and even harder to hang on to. That's why State Farm agent Paul Downing would like to introduce you to the Discount Double Check. He'll go through your car insurance policy line by line to make sure you're getting the discounts you deserve and aren't leaving any money on the table. It's fast, it's free, and when he's done finding you 10% here, 15% there, you could find yourself looking at discounts of up to 40%. That can mean savings worth hundreds of dollars, and that's a pretty good return for simply investing a few minutes of your time. So call State Farm agent Paul Downing today at 219-884-6947, because being there to help keep more of your money in your pocket is why he's here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Okay, y'all, let's jump into the show. So thank you for all the new listeners out there. If you are new to the show, then you should know that the show comes on Saturdays, 1:30 Central Standard Time. I have question of the day in the middle of the show that comes from you, the listeners. We have a very good question of the day today as well. And then I'm going to give you a topic, and we'll talk about that topic related to credit mostly and most of the time. But then sometimes we'll throw in some financial pieces as well, something to help you create maybe a budget or something of that nature, something to help you manage your money and to do better for yourself. So those are the kinds of things that happen on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So let's jump right into it today. So since I said I'm going to give you the formula, actually before that, I give shout outs as well. And I got to give this shout out. I'm already 4 minutes in the show, and I meant to do this at the very, very top. So I want to give a happy anniversary shout out, wedding anniversary shout out to my mom and dad. I want to give you a big shout out. Almost 6 decades in the game. So happy anniversary, Robert and Irene King. That's my mom and dad. So everybody say happy anniversary to them. So let's jump into this credit formula. So of course, when I look at somebody's credit, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for what have they done good, what is affecting their credit score bad. The first thing I look at is their actual credit score. I want to see what that score is and see how low it is or where it's at in the realm. So your credit scores run from 300 to 850. So I want to see if you're in the 400 range. Yes, there are people in the 400 range. I want to see if you're in the 500 range. I want to see if you're at 680, something like that. And it's going to depend on where you are, how fast we may be able to move your credit score, or how we can affect it. So I want to look at that very first. Then after that, I'm going to start looking for negatives. So I start looking for negatives. What is dragging your score down? Why is your score down? So do you have public records? Public records are if you have a bankruptcy or something like that on your credit report. If you previously, before July the 1st, if you had a tax lien, whether it was with the state or if that tax lien was with the Fed, that would be on your credit report before July the 1st. So I'm looking for those types of items. Then I'll start to look at collections, if you have any collections at all, and I'll look through all of the collections that you have. If you have 1, 2, sometimes people have 8, 9, or 10, looking at those collections and what type of collection they are. There are different types of collections. So you have your medical, you have ones that deal with places like let's say like Sprint, or some kind of cable company or what have you. So I'm looking for those collections and what type of collection it is, because it does make a difference on how I would attack that particular collection. I'm looking at the amounts. I'm looking at how old or how young those particular collections could be as well. So I'm going to look at those. Then I'm going to go through basically each and every one of your accounts. So if you have a credit card, or if you have a car loan or a mortgage or student loans, I'm looking at those particular accounts, and I'm going to go through each one of them, and I'm looking for when did they start, if the credit bureau is updated correctly. Sometimes you'll have an account on there, and I'm looking at your credit report, and it's the month of August, but they haven't updated since June. So that could be negatively affecting your credit score because they haven't updated for whatever reason. So I'm looking for that. I'm also looking for, especially if it's a credit card, what your limit is, what your balance is, what your high balance was. So your high balance is the highest you've ever used on a credit card. So if you have a $5,000 balance or a $5,000 limit, and it says that your high balance at one point in time was $5,200, I'm looking at things of that nature as well. And of course, I'm going to look at your pay history. That is the most important factor. The absolute most important factor in your credit score is your payment history. So I'm going to look through that as well to see if you have had any missed payments, if you've been 30 days late, 60 days late, anything like that. And also looking to see if that's updated correctly. So even though sometimes it may be reporting that, yes, they did report, it's the month of August, sometimes that particular portion of your credit report may reflect that they have not updated it, in the last couple of months or in the last 5-6 months or something of that nature. That's absolutely going to impact your credit score because it's not being reported correctly. So those are the things that I look for first and foremost when it comes to me evaluating your credit report. So after that, after doing that evaluation, and that could take some time. It depends. Depends on how long your credit file is. If you've got 8, 9, 10 pages, or if you just have 2 or 3 pages, it all depends. Some people don't have any public records at all. Some have a few. Some have a lot of collections. Some have just a few. And some have a lot of accounts, and others have just 4 accounts. So it kind of depends on how much time that I'm going to have to spend on that. So when I give you this credit formula, that's what I'm looking at, and here's how I evaluate it. Now, excuse me, not everyone, not every credit place does this. So let's just step back a little bit. So the 800 Credit Score Man, not the 800 Credit Score Man show. So I will help people with their credit and to try to help them improve their credit scores. That's what I do. All right. So other places that fix credit or repair credit, that's not what I do. I don't call it fix or repair. I call it credit restoration. And that's what I'm looking at, is restoring your credit. At one point in time, you probably had pretty good credit. Even if your very first credit card when you were 18, you messed it up at one point in time, At some point in time, that credit card was all right. Even if it was just for 3 or 4 months, you got your first credit card, you went out and charged something, that first bill came and the payment was only $20 and you were like, boom, you went ahead and paid it. You were all hyped because you had a credit card. You felt like a real adult and all of those things. Well, you had good credit at one point in time. So I'll try to restore your credit back to where it was and restore it correctly. And that's going to, I call it credit restoration done right. So what you're going to see today is what's the difference between those, especially when we get into the question of the day today. So the first thing, of course, you all should know this, is to make your payments on time. It's the biggest factor. I've already mentioned it's 35% of what makes up your credit score is to make those payments on time. Where we get in trouble is when we don't make those payments on time. That's one of the main reasons people have a lower credit score. So if you miss a payment, and I'm not talking you missed the payment, you realize that the payment was due on the 3rd, today is the 8th or the 9th, and you're like, oh man, I need to make this payment. Make the payment right away. So if you make the payment right away, it's not going to reflect on your credit report that you were late. So what, you were late? You probably got hit with a late charge or what have you. That's the cost of you not paying attention and not making that payment on time to the credit bureau, to the credit, to whoever that credit account is with. But as far as the credit bureau is concerned, they have no idea that you made that particular payment late. So of course, you want to make that payment on time. Now let me jump to another factor that when I'm looking to evaluate your credit, I'm looking at, let me step back a little bit. So when I talked about the other credit companies that fix or repair your credit, oftentimes what they do and what they limit themselves to is helping you remove negative items off of your credit report. Will that increase your credit score? Absolutely. It will absolutely increase your credit score. So of course, I will help you do that as well. I'll help you if we're looking at collection that's not yours, or if there's something wrong with it. We're going to look at getting those items removed from your credit report, and I'll give you suggestions on how to do that. So I'm looking at that. So are the other credit companies. That's what they do, and that will absolutely help you improve your credit score. What they don't do and where they stop, typically where they stop is they don't give you the information you need to do positive things to help you improve your credit score. I'm sure that they know what those factors are, but that's not their purview. So what they do is they're looking at any negative items that are on there. They're trying to help you get them off of your credit report by disputing them through the credit bureaus or going even directly to who the creditor is. That's what they do. That's what I do. That's a good thing. In addition to those things, though, what I look at is the 5 factors that we absolutely know affect your credit score. And in those 5 factors, we look to manipulate them in your best light. So we're trying to give you the advantage that you can, and that depends on where you are in your particular situation. So, of course, payment history. We talk about, well, not payment history, paying on time. So you got to pay on time. So if you haven't paid on time each and every time, let's say for an example, you have a credit card or even say a car loan, and you miss one payment and it's showing on your credit report. It could have been 2 years ago, because on your credit report, it's going to show basically 7 years of your payment history. So if you were late and you've had this particular car, let's say for 4 years, and you were late, say the second month that you had it, and it was 4 years ago, then it's going to show that one late payment. What you can do is ask whoever holds that particular account to correct that for you. Say, hey, you know what? I just got the car. My dog died. I went on vacation and I forgot to mail it before I left. Whatever it is, whatever excuse you want to come up with, you can send that to the person that holds the account, the company that holds the account, and you can ask them, can you correct this on my credit report for me? They have the option to say no, or saying, no, we can't do that. That's not something that we do. It's not part of our policy. But all you can do is ask, and it doesn't hurt for you to ask. Or you can send them a letter as well and ask them to make those changes for you. If they do, that will absolutely help your credit score as well if you don't have any late payments on your credit report. So you want to do that. That's absolutely something that you want to do. So let's jump to another part that actually has no positive effect at all I just want to go through this really quickly, and that's your inquiries. I talk about inquiries a lot. I think that they do have a bigger impact on your score than most other people do, because it's only 10% of your score, technically. Technically, it's only 10% of your score. However, even though it's just 10%,